So hello YouTube, I am back finally with another video. I am 36 weeks and guys, I just ask y'all to bear with me. I'm really trying not to be everywhere. I wrote me a little script down so I can know what to talk about. I have a lot to talk about this week. Very, just touching stories, a lot of information, so just bear with me. I'm really trying not to be everywhere. I'm trying to go step by step by step so I can give out good information, but I am pregnant, so just bear with me. So before I get into the topics that I'm going to discuss, I'm going to share what's going on with me. And here it goes. So let me go to my app. I'm glad to be back on this camera. Even though the phone, it goes all the way through without pausing, I still like this camera. All right. Oh crap, what happened? I don't know what I did. No. Okay. So as of today, I am 36 weeks and 5 days pregnant. My baby size is about the size of a cabbage. And it shows your body and your baby. My baby should be, this is all just estimations, 18.62 inches, and it should be about 6 pounds and 20 ounces, 6.20. And this is called, I forgot the name of this app, but I'll tell you after I get off of it. But it is, it just sort of tell you, it gives you some articles to read and stuff like that. And this is my little experience in my 36 weeks of pregnancy. So I thought the baby was at a, I can't remember the word, was at an angle. I can't remember the word. And if I do remember the word, I'll come back and tell you guys. Ovulate, something like that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. But I thought the baby was at an angle position where it's tilting, where the head is hitting, your pelvic bone, or your side is like tilting. Because every time I was checking, I was sort of getting a heartbeat right down here. And I had a meeting with my doula, and she's actually training to be a midwife. So I allow her to do voluntary practice work on me. And she actually found the heartbeat, and she said the baby was head down. But I was really concerned about that. I did try to use a flashlight. And so when I rechecked just last night, just out of curiosity, because I don't use a fetal Doppler like every day, because I feel movements of the baby frequently, so that's a blessing. And so I just randomly checked it last night, and my son is head down. He's ready to go. The heartbeat is head down, so I am really glad about that. I am very relieved about that. I think I have company coming. Is that you, honey? Hi, it's my husband. Come here so you can say hi. All right. Hi, Sam.
So, do you want me to go say hi?
You're only gonna. I'm sorry. I'm keeping it on. This is unscripted. But see, that's why I try to do everything when everybody's quiet. But I heard somebody creeping. Hi, Sam.
Hey, baby.
So how you doing?
I'm alright. You do your thing.
Okay. That's my doctor, Dr. Murphy. But anyway, he is head down and he's ready to go. I can really feel him pushing in on my bottoms. Like I was saying in the last video, is like, woo, you can feel the gates opening up. So he is ready. Little Zamar is ready. So we're just waiting patiently on him to make his arrival in God's timing. So I'm really learning to be patient. So that's what's going on with me. And so we're going to get into the topics that I'm going to be talking about today. So my topic today, and y'all please bear with me, these are some sad stories, but it's some good information, and hopefully the ladies that I discuss, the topics that hopefully it can save some lives. So I'm going to help spread the awareness on. So I'm at 36 weeks, and today I'm going to talk about why hospitals should be your backup plan, C-sections, and why black women are dying at a higher rate than any other black race. And so the documentaries that I'm going to be referring to, I watched Born Free. It was really good. It told the story of Kara Dixon Johnson. Her husband is a very strong advocate for her. She was a black lady that went in, had a C-section, and basically bled to death, and she died. So her story is very touching. She was a beautiful black lady. And so that's how I learned about her story, which her husband, his name is Charles Johnson, is a very strong advocate for her. He continues her legacy on by getting people informed. And the other one I watched was really, really, really touching. I'm going to get into this a little later, which is Aftershock. It tells the story of, I want to get their names right. It tells the story of Shamani. Her name is Shamani Gibson. I don't like to get the names wrong. Yes, Shamani Gibson and Amber Rose Isaac. These are two black ladies that complained that they were having problems. They were ignored up until it was time to have an emergency C-section. And one of the ladies had already had the C-section, had the baby, went home, but did not feel good. And they both passed away. And their partners are left to raise these babies by themselves. It is sad. And so I hope to share their stories and all the other women. I'm going to give a little brief about them to hopefully, help you make an informed decision. Don't think because it haven't happened to you that it can't happen to you. It can happen to you. It happened to me. But it just didn't happen to me where I lost my life. But I lost my child's life. My child is gone. So don't ever think, just because it's not happening to you now, don't mean it can happen to you. It can't happen to you. So it's so important to know all the information. And then if you know all the information, at least, and if you still choose, this is the route I want to go, that's your choice. But you need to go in a hospital knowing all the information. So I'm going to touch a little bit about, let me talk about why hospitals, I'm going to talk about hospitals versus home birth and why hospitals should be your backup plans. Now, I've seen these trending videos. These are black ladies that are having babies at home, and they're also doulas. And they gave this critical advice. And when you think about it, especially when having a baby, you first got to remember this. A pregnancy is not an illness. It's natural. It's normal. It's God-given. It becomes a sickness when doctors are intervening with medication, C-sections, and all this stuff. So it's normal. It's normal. And we have just been programmed to go straight to the hospital. But she said these words that were so true. And then when I think back at my story, I'm so grateful to God that my birth story in the hospital, natural, happened the way it did. She told women, let labor at home as much as you can, then go to the hospital if you want to go and have a baby there. But labor at home as much as you can, and then make the decision, okay, I'm going to the hospital. And she is so right. Because if you are 0 centimeters dilated, you get in the hospital and your labor is not progressing like they want it to, they're going to be like, you know what, we on a time frame. We got like 50 other women to have babies. You need to make a decision. You're going to be pressured. You're not progressing. They'll lie to you too. Oh, your baby heart rate is going down. So we need to get this rolling. So women need to know that when you go in the hospital, you on their time, not yours. So now if you're 10 centimeters dilated like I was with Zephaniah, when I walked in the hospital because I thought something was wrong, nothing was wrong. I was just shot into labor fast. But when I went in, I was 10 centimeters dilated. There was no time for medicine. There was time for nothing. All I could do was push. All they could do was watch. And that was a blessing for me. So I feel like the Lord, even in my naiveness, and I was really impatient, I still got saved to where they didn't intervene with my birth. Because if I was 5 centimeters dilated, they still would have had time to give me Pitocin and all this extra stuff, and that medicine could make the baby heart rate go, oh, then you need a C-section. So it's so important to labor at home. Labor at home first and then go to the hospital. And so that's what I would encourage. Now, if you have a 911 emergency, by all means, get up and go. But if you're having a normal, regular pregnancy and you're not having any complications and you're just dealing with labor pains, stay at home until you get to a place where at least the head is crowning. And by the time you get to the hospital, there's nothing that you won't have to deal with medication. So I really liked what she said. So hospitals should be your last choice. It shouldn't be your first choice. It should be your last choice. And so from my experience, I'm still like just amazed with Zariah's birth versus Zephaniah's birth versus all the other births I've had. With Zariah's birth, having a baby at home, I can move around. As if y'all ever watched the video, I'm on my knees giving birth. I was in the bathroom, and I was so much in pain till I couldn't make it to where I wanted to go to my room, but I couldn't. But do you see how much freedom I had? I could move around while I'm birthing the baby. And then versus Zephaniah's birth, they wanted to put me on my back, and I had a doula that said, hey, let her get in the comfortable position she wants. So they let me get in my comfortable position that I want. I was able to give birth to him the same way I gave birth at home. But if I had not had my intervention there, or me not knowing what I needed to know, I probably would have gave birth on my back. And it's a very difficult position to give birth in. And so and then after you have the baby in the hospital, like at home, immediately they gave me Zariah. And she's on me. And then Sam is there. He want to know. I want to hear her cry. Because she was just looking around like, who y'all? Like, she was like, she's in the new world. And he's like, squeezing her, pinching her. And he finally got her to cry. It was perfect. She wasn't crying like that. She was like, I'm glad to be here. That's how she was looking. And then like 6-7 hours later, you sit her up and she just got these big eyes just looking at you like, who you? And I look back at those pictures, I'm like, wow, she just looked so happy. And so versus with Zephaniah, it was crazy. Zephaniah came out just like all the other babies that I had, except Zane. He didn't really cry hard. His was special. But when they pulled him out, Sam said they was rough, how they grabbed his head, how they're trained to handle like everything is an emergency. Like, what was the rush? And so I was away from, he wasn't immediately put on me. I was just there letting them, they was weighing, they was acting like it was an emergency. He was fine. He was crying. So, and then the umbilical cord was immediately cut, which at home we let Zariah get all her blood. Zephaniah did not get all his blood. And then after they roll you to your room, after you had your baby, you get no sleep in the hospital. None whatsoever. They coming in every single hour. We want to check your blood pressure and your heart. Just want to make sure. I'm like, I can't sleep up in here. You just need rest. After you done gave birth to a baby, you need some sleep with your baby on you. And it's like, I got disturbed. Oh my God, I'm so ready to go home. And then when you go in there, you leave on your own, they will call Child Protective Services on you. You take your baby and you leave without the doctor not releasing you, you're going to be in some trouble. Because we're trained to believe doctors know best, that we don't know no better. And there was nothing wrong with my son or me. I was up walking around, just high on hormones, but I was fine. But I got no sleep at all, and I was ready to get out of there. I was getting claustrophobic, and then the doctor come in. They have to tell you about jabs, and if you refuse them, and then they have to tell you about birth control. And I'm like, I don't want to hear all that. I don't really want to hear all that, because I know what happened to my son. So, and the doctor came in, and the nurse came in first and tried to persuade me to do some things to my son, and I was like, no, I don't want that. So she brought the doctor in, and I had a breakdown. I started crying because I was like, my child, my fourth baby died of such and such and such, and she felt bad for making me cry. And it was just, I'm not trying to focus on that. So the hospital is just, they have you just claustrophobic. I just was ready to get out of there. I was ready to leave. I just was ready to come home. And then if you don't have arrangements at home, you got more than one child, and you got to find a babysitter. Like myself, at the last minute, I had to get my mother-in-law over here to watch my kids. I mean, everything was just disrupted. And then, Sam was going back and forth, where at home, all I did after I had Zariah, I just brought them to the kids. The kids were in the room. Hello, this is your new sister. And they all just gathered around, and we didn't have to leave our home. I mean, home birth is better any day. And then I see these videos on TikTok where women are going in saying, oh, they won't let you. I seen this one TikTok where this lady said, let me tell you something. If they're not letting you watch you bathe your baby, this is what you do. And I'm like, just have it at home. People need to understand that the hospital has policies. When you are walking on their domain, when you go in, that's why they have you to sign papers. That's why they got themselves covered. If they have an accident on you, and if they're not caught directly, they can get away with it. They can get away with murder. That's why they got the paper trail. And you're so anxious, the mama's so anxious, oh, I'm just ready to get this over with. You're not thinking logic about, this is my life. This is my child's life. They can make mistakes. But I want women to realize that when you walk in that hospital, you are walking on their ground. It's not your ground. They can hold you. If they feel like there's a problem, they can hold you longer than usual. Usually with pregnancy, they try to keep it rolling like a business. But they can send you out, and you may not even feel well. But they say if you well, they'll let you go. They can hold you as long as they want to. It's like you giving over to them. So I put the comment on it. Just have them at home. It don't take much to get a book. It don't take much to take care of yourself. Get a diet under control. I read a little bit about preeclampsia, but preeclampsia is associated with high blood pressure. Learn how to get that high blood pressure down. But if it's out of your control, by all means, go see a doctor. But if you can take control of your own body, do it. I'll use my husband, for example. He doesn't, he's a man, but he had problems with a high blood pressure. And so instead of taking the prescription pills, because, the doctor gave him some prescribed pills, he said no. He said, Alexis, I'm not taking this, because one of the side effects was actually death, I think. It was some crazy side effects with the medicine that was prescribed. And he said, I'm not going to take this. And so he figured him out a way to take vitamins. He read some books on how to keep his blood pressure low. And then when he got checked, he realized that, my doula actually checked his blood pressure. And she told him, all you really need to do is get active. And so with this job that Sam now has, he has to be active. And he's been working out more. He's been, just being active. And I asked him, I said, well, how your blood pressure feel? He said, I feel great. And so if we learn how to take responsibility for our health and learn how to take responsibility for our bodies, we would not be in these predicaments. So I would just encourage women and men to take care of yourselves. Don't just depend on the doctor with your whole pregnancy. Look up these things that you're having. So I would encourage you to do that. And then I could share my little story, something that I did. Now, with all my pregnancies, I used to drink that nasty glucose stuff. So I got to the point that I didn't like it. When I had Zariah, I was like, I didn't like it. And I used a different alternative, and I turned out fine. I've never had problems with gestational diabetes. So they give you this sugar test. So with this baby, I was tired, and I didn't drink the drink, but I ate a banana, some gummy worms, and a whole thing of orange juice. And I took in too much sweetening. So when the test came back, because I was really pushing against the doctor, I'm like, I do not want to drink this. And she was like, in her mind, like, please take it so I can get paid. And so, and then you get fearful. You don't want to go against them and cause arguments. So I didn't tell her, but I had took in too much sugar for that test. And then so they called me and said, I have a risk for gestational diabetes. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, what's going on? I've never had this problem. So I told my doula what was going on, and she went and researched it for me. And she was like, Alexis, you took too much. Your sugar intake was too high. It's a certain amount that they need in your body so they can test it. And so you intook too much sugar. And that's why that test, came up that, hey, you're at risk for diabetes. And then they wanted me to come in and get tested for like 3 hours. So I'm like, I don't have that kind of time. I got children, babies, job. I don't have that kind of time. And so that's when I was like, because when I was getting to go back to the appointment, it was like, we need you to do this and that. And I'm just not up for arguing. So that's when I stopped. I said, okay, I'm going to stop going. Take it from here. So that's why I would say just home birth is better than the hospital. The doctor appointments, it's like you go in, and then the OBGYN versus a midwife or a doula is my doula, they actually give you information about your health. The doctors don't. They come in, oh, baby's doing good, heart rate is fine, mommy is fine, okay, we'll see you back in 2 weeks. And they never tell you to drink enough water. They never give you any health tips. It's just in and out. And so that's why we as people need to take authority over our own health. So let me see how this camera is doing. Let me see if I've talked 30 minutes, and if I haven't. So yeah, I got a little more time. But yes, guys, so that would be, my first topic, hospitals versus home birth, and why hospitals should be your backup plan. And so I'm gonna cut this off because I don't want to be running my mouth and I'm talking and then it cuts off. So it's at 25 minutes, you guys. So I'm gonna stop it and cut it off, and then we're gonna start talking about C-sections. So all right, stay tuned for part 2.